हेलो भैया, तो आज हम लोग कर रहे हैं चैप्टर 21 अपना एनवायरनमेंट एथिक्स। और इसके अंदर हम लोग पढ़ेंगे एनवायरनमेंट एथिक्स। इसका इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ते हैं। एनवायरमेंटल एथिक्स इज अ ब्रांच ऑफ एथिक्स दैट स्टडीज द रिलेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग एंड द एनवायरनमेंट एंड हाउ ethics play a role in this. Ethics believe that the humans are the part of the society as well as other living creatures, which include plant and animals. These items are a very important part of the world and are considered to be a function part of a human life. Therefore, it is essential that every human being respect and honor this and use moral ethics when dealing with these creatures. Environmental ethics, therefore, it is a discipline in philosophy that studies the moral relationship of the human being to and also value and moral status of the environmental and its non-human contents. Uh, Topic number 1.2, 21.2. Need for the environmental ethics. The act of the human lead to environmental pollution. The stronger demand for the resources is also factor that contribute to the problem, as well all the need food and shelter. When these things are so desired, the natural balance of the environment is distributed. Engineering development and are resulting in the resources depletion and environmental destruction. There are several environmental issues that are created havoc on the environment and the human life. If ignored today, these ill effects are sure to curb human existence in near future. Various environment issues have taken a toll on our environment, and we'll already started seeing some disastrous effect in the form of effect of health of on human rights and sea level and depletion of non-renewable resources, melting of glacier, extent of species, and many more. Given the rapid pace of environment decay and the need and the need sorry and the need for the intergenerational equity, environment ethics has to form the central part of the governance structure. Topic number 21.3, environmental ethics and its principle. Suppose putting out natural fires, killing feral animal, or destroying some individual member of the overpopulated indigenous species is necessary for protection of the integrity of the central ecosystem. Will these actions be morally permissible or even required? Is it morally accepted for farmer in a non-industrial country for practice splash and burn technique to clear area for agriculture? Consider a mining company which are performed open pit mining in some previous upsoiled area. Does the company has a moral obligation to restore the landform and surface ecology? And what is the value of the humanly restored environment compared with the originally natural environment? It is often said to be morally wrong for the human being to pollute and destroy part of the natural environment and to consume a huge portion of the planet's natural resources. If it is wrong, is it simply because sustainable environment is essential to present and future human well-beings? Or is such behavior also wrong because the natural environment and or its values content have certain values in their own rights, so that these values ought to be respected and protected in any case? These are among the questions investigated by the environmental ethics. Some of them are the specific questions faced by individuals in particular circumstances, while other are the more global questions faced by the groups and communities. Yet other are more abstract questions concerning the values and the moral standing of the natural environment and its non-human component. These are several approaches or principles to determine how we are to value our environment. It is such a huge field, and it is so vast that it is difficult for one principle to cover all the grounds. Many theories have emerged over the years, and each has stressed on a various principle of environmental ethics. The list below state all the principles that are predominantly found in these theories. Antro, Anthropocentrism It is suggested that human beings are the most important being. All other living beings are but accessories that would assist in the survival. Now there are two further division of the anthropocentrism. They are weak anthropism and strong anthropism. Non-anthronism and opposed to anthronism. Non-anthronism. This principle gives the value to every object, every animal in nature. It is a principle that believe in everything that sustain itself in nature. Psychocentrism is a principle that believe that the human being had more value in the environment since their capacities mental capacity are better developed and far more complex than any other element in the environment. Biocentrism, it is a term that hold only an ecological but also political value. It is a philosophy that impart importance to all living beings in terms of environmental ethics. Biocentrism is a principle that ensures the proper balance of ecology on the planet. Holism. The term holism has been coined by the Jan Smuts in the book of Holism and the Evolution 1926. Holism considered environmental system as a whole rather than being individual part of something. It is considered an environmental system to be valued. Resourcism. The principle of resourcism say that the nature is considered to be valuable only because it has nature to provide with, thus nature out to be exploited. Speciesism, the principle of speciesism justified the superiority of the human race. Thus, it justified. This is also justified the exploitation and maltreatment of animal by humankind. Considerability. That this too is an important principle of environment ethics. Intrinsic value is added to every being, which makes us considered being moral. Considerability toward being a being means that we are agree that all our interaction who's what's over with the being is bounded by moral laws. Instrumental value, the instrumental value is a value imparted to a being as long as it can serve us with resources. Intrinsic value is a value attached to being just it for itself and not only for its resourcefulness. The aesthetic value is imparted to a being by virtue of its look or its beauty, animal liberation or animal right, as evident from its name. Animal liberation or right try to secure animal life and ensure their welfare by enforcing certain laws. Animal welfare, it ensures that the animal are treated well and humanly. Topic number 21.4, types of environmental ethics. Topic number 21.4.1, social ecology. The social ecology studies the relation between the people and their environment, often independence of the people collectively and institutions. The concept has been employed to study a diverse array of the social problem and the policies within the behavioral and social sciences. Social ecology has been criticized to for its extrapolation from the natural world to the human society. Ecologists argue that the independence and the lack of hierarchy within the nature provide a guiding nature and nature provide of grounding for the non hierarchical human society. However, it is one of the things to say nature is but quite another to say others how society ought to be. Even if we accept that there are no natural hierarchical within nature, which for many is doubtous, there are plenty of other aspects of it that most of us would not want to foster in our human society. Core principle of social ecology, multi-dimensional structure of human environment, physical and social, natural and built features, objective material as well as perceived symbolic or symbiotic virtual place based features. Core disciplinary, multi-level contextual analysis of people environment relationship spanning proximal and the distal scale, from the arrow up to the board. Sociological and temporal systems provide especially feedback loop interdependence of system element, anticipating ununited unintended side effect of public policies and environmental intervention. Translation of the theory and research finding into community intervention and public policies prevailing and combining both academic and non-academic perspective include the scientist and the professor group, and the academic lay citizen and the community stakeholder group, businesses leader and other professional group, and the government decision makers that transdisciplinary values and the ordinary synthesizing concept and method from the different field that pertain to particular research topic. Topic number 21.4.2, Deep Ecology. The deep ecology is based in the belief that the human must radically change their relationship to the nature from one that value nature solely for its usefulness for the human being to one that recognize that the nature has inherited value, sometimes called an ecosophy. Deep ecological offer a definition of the self that differ from the traditional notion and is a social movement that sometimes has religious and mystical undertones. They contended uh, that the mainstream ecological movement is concerned with the various environmental issues such as pollution, overpopulation, and conservation only the extent that the issue has been negative impact on the area's ecology and disrupt they argues that anthropocentrism, a worldview that contain an instrumental view of the nature and a view of humanity as a conqueror of nature, has led to environmental degradation throughout the world, and thus it should be replaced with the ecocentric, ecology centered, or biocentric, life centered worldview where the biosphere becomes the main focus of the concern. Critics of the deep ecology argues that it just too vague to address real environment concern. In it refusal of to reject so many worldwide and philosophical perspective, many have claimed has it is difficult to uncover just what a deep ecology advocate. For example, it offer us eight principles that deep ecological should be accept, and on the other side, it claims that the ecology is not about the drawing of code of conduct, but adopting a global comprehensive attitude. Principle of deep ecology. Principle of deep ecology. The well-being and flourishing of human and non-human life on the earth have a value in themselves, synonym intrinsic value, inherent value. These values are independent of the uselessness of the non-human world. For the human purpose, richness and diversity of the life form contribute to the realization of these values are also values of in themselves. Humans have no right to reduce this richness and diversity except to satisfy vital needs. The flourish of the human life and culture is compatible with a substantially smaller population. The flourish of the non-human life requires a smaller population. Present human interaction with the non-human world is excessive, and the situation is rapidly worsening. Policies must be therefore we change these policies affect basic economic technologies and the ideological structures. This resulting state of affair will be deeply different from the present. From the present The ideological change will be mainly by the appreciating life quality, dwelling in a situation of inherent value rather than adhering to an increasingly higher standard of living. There will be profound awareness of the difference between bigness and the greatness. Those who subscribe to foregoing point have an obligation, directly or indirectly, to try to implement the necessary change. Topic number 4.21.4.3, Ecofeminism. Obsession, hierarchical, and spiritual relationship with the nature have been centered concern of the ecofeminism. Ecofeminism asserts that there is a connection between the destruction of the nature by the human and the obsession of the woman by man that arise from the politic theory and social practices in which both woman and the nature are treated as object to be owned or controlled. Ecofeminist aim to establish a central role for the woman in pursuing of an environmentally sound and socially just society. They have been divided, however, over how to conceive the relationship between nature and the woman, which had been hold a more intimate and the more spiritual than the relationship between the nature and the man. Whereas the cultural eco-feminist argues that the relationship is inherent in women's reproductive and the nutritive role. A social eco-feminist, while acknowledging the relationships immediacy, claims that it arises from the social and cultural hierarchy that uh, confine women primarily to be primate sphere. Ecofeminism demonstrated and adherence to the strict dichotomy among other between the man and woman. Some ecofeminist critiques note that dichotomy between women and men and nature and cultural create a dualism that is stringently stringent and focus on the differences of women and men. It is seen ecofeminists to strongly correlated the social status of the woman with the social status of the nature rather than non-essential view that the woman along with the nature both have the masculine and the feminine qualities, and that have just feminine qualities have often been seen as a less worthy. Nature is also seen as a lesser value than culture. Concept of ecofeminism, modern science and ecofeminism, they view a dominant stream of the modern science not as an objective science but as a protection of the Western man's value prevailing of the determination what is the considered scientific knowledge and its uses has been controlled by men, and for the most part of history restricted for the men. A common claim that the eco-feminist literature is that the patriarchal structure justify that the dominance through binary opposition. These include but are also limited to the heavenly and earth, mind, body, male, female, human, animal, sprite matter, sprite matter, culture, nature, and white and non-white, vegetarian, non-feminist. The application of the ecofeminism to animal right and establish vegetarian ecofeminism, which assert that the omitting of opposition of the animal and from the feminist and the eco-feminist analysis in consonant with the activist and the philosophical foundation of the both feminism as a movement of to end all the form of opposition and the ecofeminism it put into practice. The personal is political, as many ecofeminists believe that meat eating is a form of patriarchal domination that suggests a link between a male violence and a meat waste diet. Materialistic ecofeminism, a materialistic view, connect institutions such as a labor power and the property as a source of the domination over women and nature. There are connect made between the subject because of the value of production and reproduction. This dimension of the ecofeminism may also be referred as a social feminism, social economist as or Marxist feminism. Spiritual cultural ecofeminism is it is also called the earth-based spirituality, which recognize that the earth is alive and that we are interconnected communities. Spiritually, ecofeminism is not linked with one specific region but is concerned around the care of compassion and non-violence. Declaration of ethics principle in relation to climate change. The member of a state and state of the Union, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization meeting in Paris at the 39th session of the General Conference from the 13 October to 14 November 2017, taking into the account the work carried out by the World Commission on Ethics and Science, Knowledge and Technology COMEST on the environmental ethics generally and the ethical issues associated with the climate change in the particular. Nothing with a great concern that are the urgent imperative to mitigate the causes of the climate change and to adapt to its consequences. Nothing with common nothing with nothing with concern that climate change elevate other threat to special and the natural systems, which placed additional burden on the poor and vulnerable. Also, recognizing the climate change is common concern for the humankind and the convenient that the globe and the local challenge of the climate change cannot be made without the participation of the all global and participation all the people at all level of the society, including state, international organization, and subnormal entities. Uh, Local authorities, indigenous people, local communities, the private sector, civil society organization, and individual. retrying that significant contribute should be pursued by all to limit climate change and its effect, reflecting equity and the principle of the common but differentiated responsibilities and the respective capabilities in the light of different nation circumstances, with developed countries continuing to take the lead, and developing countries continue to enhance their mitigation effort, recalling the component from the Paris Agreement that developed their mitigation effect efforts, recalling the commitment from the Paris Agreement that developed country parties shall parties shall provide financial resources to assist developing country party with respect to the both mitigation and adaptation in the continuation of the existing obligation under the convention, and other parties are encountered to provide or continue to provide such a support. Vulnerability recognition the need for the transition as a quick as possible to sustainable lifestyle and sustainable economic development. Convinced of the need to respond urgently to climate change with the effect and comprehensive policies which respect and promote human rights and reinformed by the ethical principle, emphasizing the importance of the including gender perspective within the climate change policy and and recognizing the different need and the access of resources men and women, as well as the need of the most vulnerable that include but are not limited to displaced person and mitigation indigenous people, local communities, persons who disabilities, the elder, youth and the children, as well as gender equality and the empowerment of the women, and also recognizing the that meaningful participation of all stakeholders, included the most vulnerable, is essential to effect a decision making to address a climate change and its advice effect. Also emphasizes the fundamental importance of the science, technology, innovation, relevant changes, including appropriate local and traditional and indigenous knowledge. Further recognizing that only the climate change itself, but also response to it may have important the variable ethical multiplication and the different scale of the place and time. Topic number 2.21.5, the future of environment ethics. Given the increase of the concern for the environment and the impact of our action have upon it, it is clear that the field environment ethics is a very state. However, it is less clear is in what way the discipline will move forward. Having said that, there is evidence for the least 3 years development. First of the environment entity either need to be in the will be informed by charge in the political effort to ameliorate environment problems of business should be take a lead in the tackling through the problems. Instead, it has been a interest of big businesses to be acting in the way given the power consumers. It is quite possible then we will see businesses either present and some issue that environment ethics has been tracking to. However, the effort environment ethics will not be limited to influencing the information in business ethics also, but also understandably feed into and merge and more mainstream ethical thinking. Finally, environment ethics will be of course of be informed by the single of understood of the environment, where it is be changed in the understanding of how ecosystem work, changes in evidence concerning the environmental crisis. It is clear and that such change will be inform that influence those thinkers writing on the environmental obligation. After all, the environment is not a something can one be removed oneself from the. In light of this, once it is recognized that the people environment obligation and area are the ethics and affected, including just theory, domestic distribution is species justice, global distributive justice, human right theory and the many other things. Take a good global distribution during example one. If one considered how climate change will affect the people throughout the world at different times. Renaissance resistance from the This is ability to earn living and so on. It is a clear that considered of the empowering is essential to such a social justice. Gandhians on in Gandhi on environment. The ecologist scope of non-violence is united with Gandhi's faith in violence, non-violence, and vegetarians made him a votary of conservation of all diversity, including all forms of life, society, current regional and the traditional areas. Nasser, Niece's opinion of the deep ecology aroused that ecological prevention is might violated in nature. Nasser introduced Thomas Webner a systematic and relation between the non-violence, self-regulation, and the mutual dependency of all living things by the following part. The self-realization supported supposes such and the truth. All living beings are one. Himsa, violence against oneself make the realization impossible. Himsa against living being, himsa against oneself, himsa against living beings maker complete self realization importance. Nias used these principles to envelop Abbot's philosophy to environmental deep ecology. Is believed that the Gandhi's utopia is one of the few that save the ecological balance as growth and visited non-violence has the power to solve the problem solve all our problems, including ecological crisis. Many thinkers consisted the Indian environment movement, like Chipko movement, Narmada Bachao movement, are the example of the Gandhi environmental, and they considered as a Gandhi as a man deep ecological view of the very much view deeper driven even cat ecology. This key agenda of the Chipko movement was and the carrying forward vision of the Gandhi mobilization of the new society where the men create exposure and exploited and destroyed which was civilized response to threat to human survival. All these act together can meet an exponent of the government environment. The ecological idea of the Gandhiji differ from the conversion economy and the bore close recommendation. The ecological economies, the term sustainable development was not much discussed. Gandhi not discussed. So sorry यहाँ पे कहा था गांधी Gandhi's generation through the welfare of all. Sorry, sorry Gandhi Gandhi's time but मैं दोबारा पढ़ दे रहा हूँ द इकोनॉमिक आइडिया ऑफ द गांधीज differed from the conventional economic and bore close resembles with the ecological economic. The term sustainable development was not much discussed at the Gandhians time, but this idea vision of the world is Gandhian as a view exponent of the Indian environmentalist. The economic idea of the Gandhian differ from the conventional economic and were close with the economic ecological economic. The term sustainable development was not much discussed at the Gandhian time, but his idea vision to the world known as Sarvodaya safeguard the right of the future generation through the welfare of all. Environmental movement is in India Satyagraha as a moral equivalent for the war. Forest Satyagraha was the first used effective in Chipko movement to protect against the deforestation. Gandhian techniques used padayatras and were conducted to save nature. Conflict resolve techniques based on the non-violence and the self-sacrifice were used to by the environment activities like Chanti Prasad Bhatt, Baba Amte, Sundar Lal Bhagwana, Medha Patikar, and others. Buddha on environment. People were not concerned with the global environment change at the time of the Buddha, so he not gave teaching especially on the subject. He did not recognize that the local community could not be affected by the behavior of his follower, and so, for example, he set the rules for monk and nuns never relate themselves to near running water. I.e., people would not want to wash drink. Similarly, he also ruled that monk and nun should not disrupt the establishment habitat of the any other creature nor kill and other living or creature. For example, when building new quarters, some form of the Chinese and the Japanese Buddhist teach and the idea of the interrelation of the everything. This means the human depend on the nature and on the human harming one part of the whole is the one of the same as the harming of all of it. Therefore, the people learn to live simply they and harmony with the world. The same, the whole of the environmental, with the example, Buddhist declare at SECs stresses the need for the people to help respect for the wildlife and for the environment, the effect of their actions on their creation. Most Buddhists believe that it is only when the independence and we become mindful and compassionate that the world will return to peace, harmony, and the balance. That this will then allow people to live positive lives and break free from negative effect of the current Buddhist principle. Treat the mind and the body, the self environment, and the inseparable environment destruction, and therefore as outer manufacture as an inflection in our thoughts are the polluted, then the action will be polluted too, and so on. Requested consequential Jainism and environment. The common concern between the Jainism and the environment constituted a mutual sensitivity toward the living beings, the recognize of the interconnectedness. Jains para separo paragraph Jivanam of the life of form of the program to argument aware to respect and the protecting life systems. Jain Agams depict nature as a very unique and as well as say that the five main elements of the nature Prithvi, land, soil, stones, etc. Jal, water resources including cloud, Agni, fire, Vayu, air, and the Akash, sky are the line creations. Uh, and must be treated as a living beings. These are the type of element and go on to form the five classic being as shown in restriction as to it follow a harm any creature and eventually the lead to the limited consumption as well as the help in protecting environment. Jain sculptures motivate people for my minimum consumption. They emphasize on tyaga, sacrifice. Satvanas, Jain, sorry, Jain Sarvataka, Sarvikas, laymen and the women are the preach for the minimum of like days bhog consumption. The seventh woe of the Jain household is bhoga, bhoga, pariman with wow. This resulted them from the ultimate consuming of the natural resources. Moreover, this woe is a shiksha Vrata educational, wo it preaches to observe, to learn, and educate themselves toward the limiting their consumption. One of the way Jain monk of the follower Jainism observe non-violence is by the restraining themselves from the eating the root, the live potato, radish, carrot, ginger, especially during the 4 month of the rainy season. The reason behind this is that they think that during harvesting, a different vegetation is the dug out of the soil is killed more the dangerous senior Jains called this period as Chaumasu at the Chaturmas. Hinduism on environment. Hinduism offered a perspective on environment conservation where there is no separation between the creature and the created. There is no essential separation between the species Homo sapiens and the other species of mammal. Example are the indeed between the humanity and the all world around us. Hindu script, when viewed through as a ecological ten, provide a strong foundation of the actions are the three main ecological concepts that support this. Vasuveda Sarvan, the divine is presented, the being Vasudevaya Kutumbakam. Everything is a part of the intellectual global family, but both spiritually or practically. Sarvabhuta Hita promote the welfare of the all beings in the higher dharma. From the broadest perspective, a Hindu way of approaching ecological challenge in the similar applying the pre-culinary principle. And our chapter now finishes. Chapter 8 is completed.